Welcome to the Ultra World Podcast, the soccer fan's voice from the stands, with your hosts, Marc and Sean Castles, coming to you from Radio Wave Studios in New York City. Now, let's kick off the show.
Well, hi again, everybody. I am indeed Marc and that is indeed Sean Castles, and we welcome you to this episode. And for this episode, my friend, we are keeping the Ultra World Wheel of What's Next, trademark pending, in the Radio Wave Studio supply closet because we want to pay homage to our friends across the Hudson River over in Jersey, the Montclair Spurs. They are the Garden State group which backs the Tottenham Hotspurs. And wouldn't you know, as fate would have it, as we get set to come into the studio and record this episode, the Spurs just this very morning finally pulled the plug on manager Thomas Frank. Now, we were thinking this might happen a month ago. In fact, I texted you after the loss to West Ham at home, and I said, he's a dead man walking. And then they started to maybe turn it around. Remember, we talked about turning around the
They've been
ocean
good in Europe.
liner in the bathtub. They started to find their footing a little bit, and then yesterday, that was the end.
I don't understand this move. I want to say also that they did well in Europe. They have advanced to the knockout round of the Champions League, so it's not all bad. And I'm not to say that this firing wasn't deserved, but you said it already, they could have pulled the plug a month ago. It feels like a Jetsy move. Indecision is as much a sin as bad management. If they get a good coach and it works out, then it'll become a Spursy move because Spursy is both positive and negative. Jetsy is just negative. But why didn't you pull the plug a month earlier? Why the indecision? Hamlet will tell you, indecision is what cost him his life.
And it's interesting to note that right now, I think if you look at the situation at Tottenham, he was only on the job for 26 matches. That's not a big sample size, and I think it's indicative that there is a problem that runs rampant through the organization. And you can't fire the players, I understand that, but I just think this is a little too quick. Unless you have somebody lined up, and we're hearing names, Mauricio may be coming back after he finishes the World Cup with Team USA. Enzo Maresca's name is out there. Obviously, he's looking for a gig. Your stunt double, who got let go by Chelsea a few weeks ago. Who knows how this is all going to play out? But right now, as we sit here on this Wednesday afternoon, they are only, I think it's 4 or 5 points out of the relegation zone. So they had to do something. And I think when they look at what Manchester United has been able to do in the wake of their managerial change and get up at the moment to the top 4 in the Premier League, that maybe the Spurs are looking at that and saying, you know what, we might be able to get ourselves kick-started and at least get to the top half of the table instead of where they are right now.
Seeing the grass is greener on the other side. I mean, this is, at least in the NFL, they wait till the season is over to fire them.
Yeah.
Generally, it's man, the rug is pulled really quickly in the Premier League and in soccer if you are not meeting the demands of management.
Yeah. Anyway, I had a chance to hang out at the Montclair Spurs clubhouse several times over the course of the current season. As we'll get to, though, in just a little bit, that clubhouse has been forced very recently to find a new home. So the tea is complete, my friends. Let's jump right into my chat with one of the co-founders of the Montclair Spurs. Here's Ritesh Patel.
Ritesh, how long have you been a Tottenham Hotspurs fan, and how did you become a fan of the Spurs?
Well, this will be an interesting story because I grew up in Upton Park, and the entire family, friends, everybody at school were West Ham fans, except for my best friend, Barry Thomas, who was a Spurs fan. So at 11 years old, we became Spurs fans, and then just started going to the matches. His dad was a massive Spurs fan, and it got started there. So many years ago, at least 50 years ago.
So you've been a fan for a while. Favorite player currently and all time?
Oh my gosh. All time, I would say Glenn Hoddle. All time favorite. Can't go wrong. I grew up in the Martin Chivers, Martin Peters, Jimmy Greaves era when I was a kid, but Hoddle for sure. Today, there's a couple, I would say, that sort of, I go, wow, that's good. I think Kudus has a lot of potential if he's played in the right place, and hopefully today they'll put him in the right place. But Odebear, really good. I really think he's a good player.
And for the sake of anybody who's tuning in, wondering what we mean by today, it is the first Sunday after the new year. Sunderland on the schedule today. How did you get involved with the Montclair Spurs, and how did the Montclair Spurs come to be?
It was actually Luke Parker-Bowles' idea, and I don't know, he reached out and said, hey, listen, I'm doing this, so would you be interested? And I'd been trying to get an official Spurs thing going for a while, and he just managed to get it done before me. So, it was sort of serendipitous that he reached out via email and said, I'm putting this together. Do you want to be a part of it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Let's get this going and see where we can go. I think our first match, there was about 4 of us or 5 of us, if I'm not mistaken.
Just a quick interruption to let you know that we're going to hear from the aforementioned Mr. Parker-Bowles in just a couple minutes. Mark and I had discussed a couple episodes ago that he had tried to convince Mark that he was Camilla Parker-Bowles' nephew, was it?
Yeah, nephew.
I mean...
Yeah, his aunt's the Queen of England.
The balls. The sheer balls. Anyways, let's get back to that.
How long ago did Montclair Spurs launch?
So this is our 3rd year coming up, so year 3. We launched halfway through the season, so 2.5, I'd say, yeah.
And you've had great turnouts. I've been here now. This is my 3rd week in a row with you guys here at Pineapple Express. What is the game day experience like here in Montclair?
It depends on the timing, but even now we're starting to... The early games, we don't get too many. The 9 a.m. game, we'll get maybe 10, 15 people. But if you look at the 10 a.m. games, we're now getting north of 30, 40, 50 people. The afternoon games, a couple of weeks ago, there was a 3 p.m. game, and we were completely slammed in here. There must have been at least 100 people here. And the reason is it's very family-friendly. One of the things that we've been very, very keen on, because I used to go to Flannery's in New York, right, whenever I could. Montclair, though, so it was tough. But we wanted to make sure this was a very family-friendly, kids running around, let them experience what being a soccer fan is all about, because that's what I did when I was growing up, right? So we encourage families. You'll see lots of kids running around, all sorts of, people coming in, and the afternoons are wonderful for that.
Now, Mark, you said it really was a great family atmosphere at Pineapple Express. More on that, we promise, coming up here. But now, we mentioned on a previous episode how the Montclair Spurs have raffle prizes that they give out during the halftime of every game. And, I know the Man City supporters do that, and the Liverpool supporters do that too here in New York City. But at the Montclair Spurs, when kids are in the house, they also have some raffle items for the younger demographic. So people looking to bring their kids in for a morning of soccer, that's a great way to entertain the kids and yourself for the day. So a game day experience with the Montclair Spurs really is fun for the kids of all ages.
Yeah, and speaking of fun, got to get back to the group's other co-founder, and with a name like Luke Parker-Bowles, honestly, it's a no-brainer, right? I thought there's only one place we should kick off that conversation.
Most important question, how close are you to the line of succession to the throne?
This is obviously the most important question. My aunt is the Queen of England, and she doesn't support Spurs. And, so, yes, my aunt.
Is she really? No.
Yeah.
No.
She really is my aunt. Yeah, look it up. You think I'm joking? You think I carry this burden?
So she's your dad's?
No. So she is
Okay.
she's my dad's brother's ex-wife.
Okay.
And that's all.
I was just kidding around. I
Oh
didn't think it was
no!
legit. I had to ask.
That's all I have. That's all I
Well,
trade on.
And you have this.
I have this.
So how did Montclair Spurs come to be? And almost as important, how did Luke Parker-Bowles come to become a Tottenham Hotspur supporter?
These are good questions. So Montclair Spurs came about because of inaction. There were certain different groups of fans who didn't really have anywhere to go to go and see a game, and a lot of establishments were concerned about committing to a team because they thought it would alienate other. I didn't give two fucks about that. And we came and saw our very good friend Damon Wise, who owns Pineapple Express, and he said, why the hell not? And so we have grown from 8 people to 270 people in a year and a half. And I think it's partly because they're a great Spurs group, but I think it's partly because no one has done it. And I think what's really important about this one is that we don't allow wankers, so no Arsenal players here, no Arsenal supporters, but also this is a family community. Jump on the furniture, scream, shout, have fun, eat great barbecue, and suffer together.
Well, we should tell everybody we're here on the first Sunday after New Year's, 1-0 at the half against Sunderland, so not suffering so much, although maybe it could be 3 or 4-0. But this crowd not as big as what we've seen the last couple of weeks. Obviously, it's a Sunday morning, and again, post-holiday, maybe a little blasé. It'll pick up again next week. Not concerned about that, but how did you guys find Pineapple Express?
Because we are fat and we like meat a lot. No, we found Pineapple Express just because it is very much, the setup here is just with the echo and with the size of it, immediately it's an event when you walk in the room, right? We're not in some hovel toasting our hands over a little fire. We are here, and we have a big fucking sign, and the kids can run around. Literally, kids run around, and you don't have to worry about it. You know, they're safe in here, and they can see their mothers and fathers. They can avoid seeing their mothers and fathers crying in the corner and swearing and doing all of the things that Spurs fans do.
All right, how did you come to be a Spurs supporter?
My son and I hadn't found a proper way to bond with him. I was getting to the point while he was younger that maybe I'd failed in this whole parenting thing, and I needed some quick way to try and get some of his affection because his mother owned it all, the greedy cow that she is. So we were watching the World Cup 2 World Cups ago, and Harry Kane was there, and my son was obsessed with Harry Kane. And we thought, let's enjoy that success and happiness. And then we realized he played for Spurs. And so I'm a phony. I'm a phony in my connection to the Queen of England. I'm not a phony, I'm just not a royal. And I'm a phony as a Tottenham Hotspur supporter, but it brings me massive joy to see these weirdos and self-hating individuals every weekend.
You're amongst your own people,
yes,
in a way.
Yes. And listen, truth be told, it's easy to say now, but success to us means so much more than a lot of teams in the Premier League. Our celebrations are insane. And I think if we were a team that sort of was consistently in the top 4, listen, it's easy to say, but sometimes we leave here euphoric, sometimes we leave here really pissed off, but there's always the next one.
What is the best part for you of being a Spurs ultra fan?
It's the people. It's the people. It really is. There's a certain kind, again, you do not choose to be a Spurs fan unless you have been born around there or you have some mental incapacity, which is fine.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, that's fine. We are all about mental illness here. And I think that to find others who are as mental as you are is a joy. And no one takes themselves too seriously, and we're all ready for a bit of a loss. But we come together, and I think that's the very best part of what football is about, or any communal. I have one of my jobs is as a producer, and I also open movie theaters. I redo them, make them beautiful, and bring.
Get a plug in. What's the name of it?
It's the company's called Cinema Lab, and to me that is heaven. Getting people in the dark, watching a movie, sharing an experience. That kind of moves on to that translates to Montclair Spurs, because we come together, and this is, with apologies to my pastor, this is our church, the second church, and we wouldn't change it for the world.
And Sean, that leads us to a fairly smooth segue here. Fans of a club that, as we have discussed, seem to have a fairly constant sense of doom and gloom. The sky's falling, and you know what? When you've only won 2 competitions of any import in the 21st century, your best league run in the last 20 years came with a guy who's now coaching the United States World Cup team at the helm, including a second-place finish in 2017. 2 years after that, runners-up in the Champions League. It's kind of understandable they feel that way.
This reminds me of the Buffalo Bills. And I will say, because some fans, as we well know, are born into their fandom. And I feel like the Buffalo Bills have a lot of their fans born into it. And they're the all-time big-time losers. And when I say the all-time big-time losers, I mean they literally make it to the championship game and then lose in the most painful way. And that's what it sounds like a lot of these Spurs fans have to deal with. So, to them, I say kudos, but maybe what the heck are you thinking sticking to your parents' team if they lose so much?
Yeah, well, we have to pay, as we talked about, we're paying homage today to the Montclair Spurs. I had a chat with, you want to talk about a Spurs ultra. Peter Hirsch has literally been a fan since way, and I mean way back when.
How did this come to be, sir?
Well, I was at a boarding school in the south of England in Sussex, and suddenly my friend Tom, who was a Chelsea supporter, said, "What's your team?" And I panicked and said, "Tottenham." And that was the beginning of the fanship.
So why them? How did that happen?
Well, I was a Londoner by birth, and I knew that Chelsea, actually in Tottenham at the time, were more of a rivalry even than Arsenal and Spurs, and so that was sort of the natural response.
And you've stayed true
I have.
all the way through.
I've stayed true all the way through with more or less enthusiasm over the years. It kind of increased in intensity when my daughter turned 13, and there wasn't much to talk about with a young 13-year-old girl. So I said, "You need to get a team." And so she said, with more knowledge than I expected, "Oh, Arsenal." So that was how we spent her teen years, just together watching football on television. So that was fun.
And is there still this rivalry when Arsenal and Tottenham go head-to-head with you and your daughter?
Absolutely. She's still a diehard Arsenal fan. She unfortunately married a Liverpool supporter, so there's now a 3-way rivalry. Wow. But it makes for a lot of fun.
I'm sure, yeah. What has been, over this more than half century, your favorite part of being a Spurs supporter?
I think, the expression, they've been a bit Spursy, has been sort of the kind of underlying theme. And to be the supporter of a team that has had tremendous success over the years, 60, 61, just to name one season, and others. And it's been quite fun to be a Spurs supporter in New Jersey, where the Mets are kind of like the equivalent problem.
It's funny, when you hear That's So Spursy, here in the New York area, we think of That's So Jets, because they have been so feudal. Again, going back to the one Super Bowl they won, which is now 57 years ago. Have you had a favorite player over the years?
Well, it's hard, it's a long time ago, but Jimmy Greaves, who was a wonderful England player in the early to mid 60s, clearly is the standout hero. Danny Blanchflower was a legendary captain of the team, really a little before my time. But as you go forward, Harry Kane was great to have. Sorry we lost him, but there have been some great players over the years.
I laugh because I remember a few years ago, Harry was about to, I think, finish off a hat trick. And obviously, given the British accent, Harry Kane does it again would have been perfect. But the announcer blew it and just said Harry Kane does it again. And it shattered me. Have you been to see them in person?
I have not been to see them in person, but that's really a function of the fact that I've now lived in the U.S. for more than 40 years. And, they built this magnificent new stadium. But I'm hoping to go pretty soon because we're going to go back to England more often now.
Gotcha. How did your affiliation with the Montclair Spurs come to be?
Through Ritesh, who's a good friend and a former colleague at Ogilvy. And then I'd known Luke as well for a number of years, and it all sort of came together.
All the expats somehow found the center of Montclair. Great place to be. What's it like for you here on game day? I know what it's like for those guys, the co-founders of Montclair Spurs, but what's it like for you as this, again, not to call you old, but you've got some rings on your tree.
It's fun sitting here sort of as the older, longer-serving Tottenham supporter. And, I was a defender, and, Ritesh is always teasing me about going off and scoring some goals for Spurs.
If I'm a free agent looking to root for a team, why should I join the Spurs corner?
I think because there's a certain kind of pathos to being a Spurs supporter. It tugs at the heartstrings. They're a very sympathetic team. They always try their best, and they've had rare moments of glory. But I think if you're supporting a team, it's much more fun to support a team that struggles than a team that's always just way out there. I mean, who would support Manchester City? That's ridiculous.
You're right. Nobody roots for the Yankees and Red Sox, or the Dodgers, or the Cowboys, or the Patriots. Yeah, but you appreciate it as a fan when they do succeed. Obviously, you cherish it more than teams that always win.
That's right. There are special goals, there are special days, and we've had some remarkable victories over the past few years,
including the Europa League title last year. First major trophy since Football League Cup back in 2008. So you got to believe, to borrow a phrase from my Mets and the late, great Tug McGraw, that better days are ahead, especially now if they can make a splash in the manager department. We have been talking about Thomas Frank being one and done for a while, and again, they just pulled the plug on him this morning as we came in to get ready to record. But let's move on. Main reason, Mr. Castles, we started this podcast in the first place was a mission for ourselves and whoever else is listening, and that's to find our football family, which takes us back to my chat with Luke.
Talk to me, if I'm a free agent looking to find a team to follow, why would I want to be a Spurs fan?
Because it is the most exciting, unpredictable game that you will watch. There are some of the best athletes. They don't necessarily work particularly well together, but when you have people like Van de Ven, when you have people like Romero, who are world greats, we feel very lucky. I mean, we don't win anything, but we feel very lucky in the moment. This is the best thing I've been involved with in my entire life. Aside from my children and my wife and all the other disclaimers. Yeah.
Last thing, game day, Pineapple Express. Why should people come out and hang out here with you mentally ill lot?
Alcoholics, basically. Everyone who is an alcoholic and likes a good Bloody Mary, or not even, have a Virgin Mary.
They are good Bloody Marys.
They are
I
good
get
Bloody
that,
Marys. And then if you come for for an 11 o'clock match, you get some barbecue. But more than that, this is kind of the center of Montclair, really.
Yeah.
And we get people coming in from Connecticut. We get people coming in from the Bronx. We get people coming in. And there's a reason for that. And half of the reason is that they say, when I go to, and this is no disparagement of any other clubs, because, you do you, but they feel a little more communal here. It's a little less aggressive. And my aggression days are gone. Seriously,
No
I'm
longer a hooligan.
no longer a hooligan. The alcohol has been replaced with a delicious gummy, and everyone's just kind to each other. And if that's the reason, then I think that's a pretty good one.
And in wrapping up, where can we catch your stand-up act?
My stand-up, I will be touring Bosnia, and apparently a new spot's opened up in Venezuela, so I'll be spending some time there. Apparently we own it now, so yeah.
You can have whatever slot you want.
It would be so apropos if the Montclair Spurs had a comedy club as their base of operations, what with the wit and humor of Mr. Parker Bowles. But alas, it was Pineapple Express BBQ, and if you've been paying attention, you notice my specific use of the past tense. And that's a little sad because Pineapple Express had to shut its doors permanently at the end of January. So let's break here. Moment of silence in tribute and memory of Pineapple Express BBQ and everyone impacted by its having to close. So, Mr. Castles, it got me thinking about sports bars and sports venues long since gone. And the first one that popped into my mind, and I heard an interview with him the other day as it related to the Super Bowl, Lawrence Taylor had a place right on Route 17 in East Rutherford called LT's, and it was absolute destination. The food was the drinks were good, maybe a little overpriced, but that place was always packed with an overflow crowd. And obviously, you had the two previous incarnations of Yankee Stadium, Shea Stadium, another moment of silence, Giant Stadium, Meadowlands Arena, which is still there, and they're using it as basically a rehearsal space now. Those are just the major buildings around here, the New York City area.
The one thing about New York City, while it's permanent, it's constantly changing. For everything that rises up, something else will fall and have its place be taken. The one I think of is CBGB.
Yeah, we were talking concert venues too. Mm-hmm.
I saw one of the last concerts there, or gigs. My dear friend Jeff Badger, we are in the middle of shooting a short film, him, Tim Bartlett, and I. And he was, of course, wearing a gorilla suit around New York City when we were doing that. And he had to stop to perform with his band Custer Paws and Mr. Freezy at CBGB. And, it was such a great evening. I didn't know that CBGB's was going to be closing then. And now I look back really fondly on that night because it's a sad day when CBGB closed. I haven't seen the documentary. I hear there's a great documentary that's out there about what CBGB was and unfortunately how it closed. I also have a really big restaurant that I used to love. I grew up loving a restaurant that was in the mid-30s on the east side. It was called El Rio Grande. And El Rio Grande had a Texas side and a Mexico side. And I usually liked the Mexico side because it's a little quieter. And they had these animatronic frogs with little sombreros that were really fun. But they had amazing steak tacos. But the fun part was, to get from the Texas to the Mexico side, you had to cross through the kitchen, and they called crossing the border.
That's funny.
But they were incredible. I went there so much, I had an ARC Restaurants card that they sent to me. El Rio Grande, closing this past winter. R.I.P., I will miss you forever.
Wow. And, of course, given the concert venues, I'm thinking of Max's Kansas City. I'm thinking of places like the Roxy, the Ritz, where I saw geez, I can't even remember how many. Saw the Alarm there. I think I saw U2 there. I know I saw Al Stewart, Year of the Cat. And then Roger Clark from New York One here in New York City. He was outside the shell of the old Lemoore in Brooklyn the other day. And that is one of the other places that immediately came to mind. That was one of the cool hard rock places. After it had opened as something else, it transitioned I think it went from disco to hard rock and, like thrash metal. It became a destination. Of course, you had the Fillmore East in conjunction with the Fillmore West. And so many of these places just don't exist anymore. The Limelight, which was in a church here in Manhattan. Really cool, different venues. They just changed the name of the theater the other day. It's got a new presenting sponsor attached to Madison Square Garden. And it's, all these things. Listen, things change, things stay the same, but the evolution of all these places, it really makes you wistful for what used to be.
New York City does not remember you as you leave, but we all remember New York City. So all those people giving their final farewells, I'm saying goodbye to New York. Most of New York's like, who?
Yeah. Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out.
They don't even know that you're leaving out the door. They're just like, I'm going back over here and paying attention to this. In one of the least smooth segues ever, we're going to now pop back over to our previous Tottenham recording, where we're going to finish up conversations we had at Flannery's on 14th Street. We have talked with Claire Rudder and Sammy Glatzel and Sachin Patel, and we're going to dive into the amazing Spurs women's football team. I would want to hear more about how the Women's League is formed outside with the Premier League. So can you give me a little bit more info on that?
So I don't know too much about it, but all I know is that it's been an up-and-coming thing. Ever since I left school, the girls' teams were wanting to get out there. When I were a child, there weren't ever boys and girls teams. It was just boys only. Probably when I got to my late teens, early 20s, that's when they started to do the girls' teams, and you'd see up-and-coming talent coming along the lines. And they're really big on kind of getting girls and thriving on that as well, because it's good for the mind, body, everything like that. It's a great sport to be involved in. And if you're passionate about it, why not join in?
Absolutely. Here in the U.S., the U.S. women's national team is beloved. I mean, women are included in soccer. Is that the case in England, or is that growing?
It's growing in England. You do get a couple of sexist comments. Oh, girls can't play football. You do get that. It's even when the presenters are on the TV and stuff like that, they're like, no, we can't be. Why is a girl commenting on football? It's give her a break. She probably knows more about the game than you. You're just biased, in that kind of scenario. I think a lot of people underestimate that kind of women do have that strength and knowledge of football.
Do you think the England Euros is going to kind of change that around? Are you excited about that wins?
Yeah, so we've had 2 great times in the Euros, the World Cup and in the Euros with England ladies, and I think sometimes although the boys have not done it as good as the girls have, you'll still hear comments even if the girls have got the trophies and winning and everything like that, it's because girls are not as playing as tough as boys. It's not the same stamina. No, it's not, because we're women. But to make that achievement and also show little girls an inspiration, it's not just all Barbie dolls and walking around pretty now. You can be anything. If you want it, put your mind to it.
Thank you. Yes, exactly,
okay.
Exactly. And it's just as fun it's fun. I love watching the U.S. women's national team. It's what got a lot of Americans into it. So yes, misogyny happens everywhere, but I feel like it's not as bad here as it is in other countries.
Yeah, Europe can be quite bad for that, to be fair. But boys can do everything 10 times over than a girl.
Well, that's changing. I'm hoping that's changing.
It's changing, but it's a slow thing to change. It's the mindset as well of people, and that's what I think a lot of times we struggle with.
Yeah, Sean, it's interesting. The U.S. Women's World Cup team, the last 4 times they've lost in the FIFA World Cup was to a different country. So there's no real, I don't know that you can call them rivalries, but, anybody that beats Team USA is instantly going to be the enemy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we actually talked about the blood feud rivalry stories here. We asked all of the Tottenham fans, who is the Spurs biggest rival. Arsenal came out top. Of course, they're a North London team, but they're not the only London team that everybody hates. Chelsea's right there. And Man City popped as Man City and their winning ways popped in there. Now, Spencer Schwartz from the New York Sky Blues debunked this a little bit and saying, it's not always trouble glory, but people still don't love the winning ways of Man City and it can rub people the wrong way. So let's hear about hate. I hope that for you. All right, last question, because I know we got to get back in there.
Yeah.
Which team do you dislike the most, and why should fans not be a fan of that team? I'll let you go first.
I mean, as a Spurs fan, Arsenal. But I will say, like, anybody who tells me they're a Man City fan is just that's straight glory hunting. So I don't respect you.
Who is the rival of Tottenham, and why should I not root for them?
Well, the biggest rival is obviously Arsenal. I have lots of friends who support Arsenal in London, and I think Arsenal are they have probably a better squad than us right now, and they've had a good few years. So I think they're on top at the minute. But I think Mikel Arteta is just hugely unpleasant to listen to after games, before games. He's incredibly whiny. The club also, I think, they were in a position where they didn't spend loads of money for a while, and they felt they had a good ethos around and maybe developing players. They spent £250 million this summer.
Yeah.
I doubt they win anything this year. And I think they're in this league of those clubs that spend inordinate amounts of money. I don't think they're in any position to criticise what Man City did over the last 10 years with the amount of money they're spending now.
All right, last question before we go in here, because I know you're going to meet your friends there. Tell us, who is Tottenham's biggest rival, and why should we not be a fan of them?
Personally, for me, I think I despise Chelsea the most. It's just the nature of, buying their success. But Tottenham's biggest rival is without a doubt Arsenal. But even just chopping it up with the Arsenal fan on the path ride over here, there's a shared struggle there, right? The North London, roots, they really do kind of cut deep, and experiencing the derby last year, they do not like each other. So, a lot of that stems from the Sol Campbell betrayal, and you got to keep Tottenham lily white.
Yeah. And I'm going to go a little negative here. Who is Tottenham's rival, and why should I not be a fan of that team?
Okay, Tottenham's biggest rival is Arsenal. You shouldn't be a fan of them because they are horrible people. They're aggressive. Seriously speaking, from someone that will not wear a Tottenham shirt walking through London, because they literally will horribly call you names. Literally, they want to start fights, try and provoke you. They're them type of people, whereas a Tottenham fan will quite happily see another person in a shirt, smile. I've met someone in Man City shirts walking up here today. We were just smiling and just said, good luck this season. Whereas if that were an Arsenal fan, I'd have probably been punched and had 2 black eyes as I was speaking to you.
That sounds like a Red Sox fan here.
Oh, really?
As a Yankee fan, yeah. I'm going to say that sounds like a Red Sox fan there.
But honestly, they're so aggressive. They're not nice. There is some nice, but I'd say majority are not nice. They're just in it more for the violence, and that isn't what the sport's about.
No.
It's also about mental health and also showing, having a bit of respect.
And who is Tottenham's biggest rival?
Arsenal.
And
yeah.
Why should I not be an Arsenal fan?
Arsenal's it's hard to explain. They're just
You go as negative if you want.
Yeah, I know it's very, very negative. It's the history of it is that in North London, Tottenham had White Hart Lane. It was where the stadium was, and Arsenal moved to Tottenham's area. So it's kind of like Arsenal, just kind of not a fake club, but they got a lot of money early in the 2000s, and it changed the club. And I don't know, and they get a lot of bandwagon fans. Honestly, I think Arsenal's a bit of a bandwagon club, especially in the US. I meet so many Americans who are just Arsenal fans because, I don't know. I really don't know. It's just a bandwagon club, to be honest.
Last question, because I know you got to get in there. Who is your biggest rival, and why should I not root for that team?
It'd be Arsenal, just history. Moved over 100 years ago, south of the river, north of the river. I've been an annoying neighbour ever since.
Yeah, it's got to be Arsenal. They're the filth, as we should say. They're not our guys.
Last question here is, who is Spurs' biggest rival, and why should I not be a fan of them?
Arsenal. It's not Arsenal, it's Arsenal.
And why not?
Look at their jerseys. They're the reincarnation of the devil. I mean, come on. They're all red for a reason. Fuck them! Fuck Arsenal!
And Sean, as we hit the home stretch on this episode, we have to give our heartiest congratulations to our astrologer buddy, Scott Tejerian. He and his partner, Gabriella, recently celebrated the arrival of twins.
That's right. Congratulations, Scott and Gabriella. Just wanted to give you a little shout out. Hoping blessings for you guys. And Scott, as with the past episodes, is going to give us a little zodiac chart on Tottenham Hotspurs. And you can listen to Scott on the weekly transit too, but here's to Scott.
Tottenham Hotspurs, they are a Virgo team. The sun's in Virgo, just like Bournemouth and Crystal Palace.
Okay.
So, yeah, Tottenham is September 5th, 1882. The moon is in Gemini, so that the sun in Virgo, very, very analytical, very critical. They know a lot about their team. They're maybe harsh critics of their team. That Gemini moon, which has popped up a few times as well. Arsenal is a Gemini moon. And so was, what's the other team that we looked at here? Gemini moon is, let's see, Nottingham Forest. So Nottingham Forest and Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspurs, all Gemini moons. So very hot and cold. They love the team, they hate the team. They're excited for the team's terrible. They go back and forth. Mercury is in Virgo. That's shown up a couple times as well. They're very smart fans. They know what's going on with the team. Very analytical, but also humble as well. Venus and Mars, both in Libra. We've seen Venus and Mars in Libra, but not with the same team. This is a team that's motivated by beauty, motivated by looking good, or the fan base wants the team to look good. They want them to lose pretty if they're going to lose. They want balance, they want harmony, they want fairness. When things are out of balance, that's when they get hot.
That's okay. So just so you know, there's a term saying it's very Spursy because they are hot and cold, just like you said. And when they are supposed to lose by get trounced by a team, they end up winning. And when they are playing the dregs of the league, they end up losing. They definitely play to the level of their competition. This doesn't mean that their fans are that way, but in terms of their play, the Spurs are notorious for being mercurial, for being very hot and cold, and really not what you expected. And they are actually an international hot team. They are one of the gems, even if they were at the bottom of last year's Premier League.
Well, it makes sense with that Gemini moon. Like, you never know what you're going to expect. It's like, how are we beating the best teams and losing to the worst teams? And it's frustrating.
And Sean, I haven't kept count of how many times that word came up in this particular episode, but it had to have been repeated the most to sum up Tottenham Hotspur fandom. It's an F word, not that one. Frustrating. Absolutely frustrating.
We're going to use a little astrology term here, square or an opposition, which usually leads to friction. And, of course, Spurs seems to fall in that category. Before we go, if you're part of Supporters Group, we're open to any and all teams fans dropping us a line, letting us know where we can find you guys on match day. We will definitely set something up. We will definitely come over to your guys' bar, to your conference room. We want to know where you're watching the matches. We want to know who your favorite team is. We want to know who your favorite players. We want to know why you hate your rivals. There's so many amazing places and people that we want to get out to, and we will gladly sit down, interview you guys, and have a pint. And if there is not a place and you're watching at your home and you're a big fan, we would like you to send us your sound bites, your emails. Tell us what you love most about your team, what it means for you to be a supporter of that team. We will put that on the air for all the sports world to hear. For Marc and I'm Sean Castles. Thanks for joining us.
This has been the Ultra World Podcast, the soccer fan's voice from the stands. with your hosts, Marc and Sean Castles. Our executive producer is Sue Zizza. Marc and Sean Castles are co-producers. David Shin is our master engineer. Assistant producer Avery Gehrig, and I'm Alicia Antwine. To be a guest on the Ultra World podcast or learn all about sponsorship opportunities, send an email to ultraworldpod@gmail.com. Be sure to follow the show on all the social media platforms at Ultra World Pod. Copyright 2026. All rights reserved, Ultra World Podcast, LLC.